Hello everyone and welcome to Storytime with Kate. Today's screencast is going to cover statement of philosophy. Have you ever thought how to answer the question, what is your philosophy of teaching, during the interview or while you are studying to become an early childhood professional? I have been working in this sector, early childhood education and care, since 2007, and I have created my statements of philosophy that would be growing and edited and updated over the years. So here is my brief screencast to support you in writing your very first statement of philosophy. Let's get started. So first of all, what is statement of philosophy? Teaching statement of philosophy is a document that you write to support your beliefs and values and theoretical understandings of teaching, learning, childhood, and children. So basically, you are talking about vision, how you view children, childhood, learning, parents, what is your role in it, but you summarize it in a document that can be displayed on the wall at the entrance of your room, or it might be filed, or it may contribute to the center overall statement of philosophy. Personal statement of philosophy may be a wonderful part of your portfolio, especially if you are looking for a job, and during the interview you can bring it and show it as part of your teaching portfolio. So as an educator, you also will need statement of philosophy, especially in order to present yourself during the interview, in order to introduce yourself to parents, to other educators, and imagine that you will become a room leader. It would be an important part of your room environment because people want to see your personality, and they also want to see you as a professional, and they want to see your philosophy. Okay? So let's get started now with statement prompts. In your statement of philosophy, you talk about values and you talk about beliefs. So values are your moral beliefs, something that you share in life. That's very, very important statements. They usually are ethical. So for example, honesty is an example of value. As for beliefs, that might be your perceptions of children learning, so your beliefs about environments, your beliefs about curriculum. So here you're talking about both your values and your beliefs. In order to create a very good balanced statement of philosophy, you need to cover the following topics. So number one is the child. So what do you believe about the child, the image of the child? Who children are? What do you believe about them? So jot down right now, make some notes. For example, I believe that children, and a lot of people say that during my sessions with students who are only starting their journey as early childhood educators, that children are cute. So that's the first thing that comes to mind. Sometimes they might mention that they're innocent, yeah? But what we want you to write here is more capable image of the child as a learner. Yeah, what else children are? Are they vulnerable? You might write that you believe they are vulnerable and in need of protection. And this will call for a special role. So write whatever you believe at the moment, because you are writing about your beliefs, and then you will also compare it to our key documents such as Code of Ethics, Professional Standards, or Early Years Learning Framework if you are in Australia. So the next part is the educator and the role of educator. What do you think we should do as educators? What is our role? What are your beliefs about being an educator? Sort of, for example, are you passionate about this role? Are you enthusiastic? Do you think we have to supervise children or a little bit more than that? So make some notes here. For example, when I was drafting my first statement of philosophy, I would write that the role of educator is to play with children, to give them love, affection, so to develop relationships with children, but also because we are called educators for a reason, to support learning. So that was the first draft that I did use. Next one is families. So what do you believe about families? Do you believe they are partners in learning? Do you believe they're important in context of child's life? Whatever you believe, jot it down here as well. So for example, I believe that families are child's first teachers. They are providers of cultural code, and they are the most important people in child's life. Yes, so and I want to build relationships with them, because if child doesn't trust me and family doesn't trust me, we wouldn't build very good relationships. Yes, so the transition of child depends on how well I build relationships with this child's family. What are your beliefs about community and the importance of community in child's learning? You might not even think about it, but consider, is it important? So if it is, what kind of community do you work in or going to work with? Think about what are their values and what is their impact on this child and child's learning. Next one is other educators and colleagues. So here you are thinking about yourself as a professional, and you are talking about your professional relationships. For example, here everyone wants to see your beliefs about teamwork during the interview, about collaboration. But most importantly, are you going to be respectful to your colleagues? Do you view them as competitors? Or do you see them as people who you share ideas with, who you collaborate with, who you learn from? Right? So, and that's a very, very interesting and important part of your philosophy. Next one is learning. Not necessarily in this order, I just jotted down some key ideas so to help you to get started. But what are your beliefs about learning? For example, I believe in zone of proximal development. That's one of the concepts. And I also believe in Vygotsky theory of learning. But I also support Piaget theory of learning, which makes learning co-construction. So when child works with another person and they create their own learning, they also learn through discover. So in other words, what do you believe about learning in general? How do you believe children learn? A lot of people might mention that it's hands-on experiences, learning through play. Yeah, very important concept. Does it start from birth? What influences learning? What are the tools that children learn through? So next step is, and that's obviously necessary, progression theory, so theoretical perspectives and curriculum approaches. A lot of people here talk about, as I did, Vygotsky, Piaget, Malaguzzi, or approaches like Reggio Emilia, Montessori, Steiner. What are some, not all, theories that you are inspired by? Yes, so mention it and mention some concepts, especially important during the interview. Next one, your views on diversity, inclusion, reconciliation, and other important concepts. For example, here you can talk about diversity of community that you're working in. You can say that you're committed to supporting children's backgrounds, cultural, linguistic backgrounds. You want to maintain this respect for different cultures, especially for vulnerable families, and you want to create an environment where everyone belongs. You also want to commit to reconciliation, and you want to include and consult with indigenous communities and indigenous elders. You want to include indigenous ways of knowing and being. So here are some basically sections for you where you will write about your statement of philosophy. You also can use these prompting questions that I did write, and this might help you to get started on your statement of philosophy. I'm going to enlarge it so you can see it. For example, what are your beliefs about fundamental rights of children and families? We are talking about human rights here, so human rights and rights such as The rights in the United Nations Convention. For example, if you believe that all children have the right to feel safe, to play, to have their culture valued, so write it down. So are you actually child-centered educator? Are you valuing rights in general? How are you going to promote it in your teaching? Okay. Next one, what should children service provide for children and families? So although you are writing it as a teacher and educator, you can still write about expectations, your expectations in terms of early childhood service, whether it's family daycare, education, or a large school. Consider what children and families can expect from an early childhood center or any service that you are going to work in. For example, the role of early childhood center is to create a culture of learning and to welcome everyone, so that children consider it as their second home. They feel welcome. So describe it first verbally and then jot it down, and this will be your first draft. Next question, what are your beliefs about how children learn? So that's pretty much what we covered before. So this prompting question helps you to explain it again. How should child, family, culture acknowledge? So here we are talking about more practical ways. What do you do? How do you acknowledge children's family culture? It could be through posters, pictures, play resources. It could be through translation of the key materials. It could be through having different books and songs and inviting families to participate and share their knowledge. Next one, what values do you hold about diversity, social justice, equal rights? So again, here you will write down all the things we covered before. For example, I'm a huge advocate for anti-bias approach. So that means that in my environment, you will find a lot of books that are challenging roles of let's say girls, that are promoting inclusion. They're books with different characters, not just traditional stereotypical characters that we can find in books. Next one, what are key theories? So we already covered it as well, but this is just a separate question, so you can answer here. And then what practices you have seen, I really like this question, in other centers. It could be in other schools, in other family daycares, in kindergartens, even in your childhood. Maybe you've seen some great practices and you remember them. Write them down. What was good about these practices? Did you see any practices that were not very good? And if they were not very good, negative, why? What could you do otherwise? What would you do different as an educator? And write it down. Yeah. For example, I was very inspired by my son's first Montessori school. We went when he was a very young child, and he experienced learning through a lot of experimentation, exploration, a lot of practical life exercises. He was given a lot of freedom, and I thought it was very child-centered approach, especially for the youngest group, 0 to 3. I enjoyed some indoor playground as well. That was very good for developing on gross motor skills, and a lot of pouring exercises, a lot of real objects from home which he loved to play with. And this inspired me to recreate the same environment when I was first setting up my classroom. So a few more here to guide you. For example, if we didn't cover it yet, consider learning environments. What do you believe about learning environments? What do you believe about interactions in general? What do you believe about transitions, for example, from one room to another, from school to high school, from kindergarten to school, and assessment and practices of assessment? And to help you, I will give you an example which I will share below as well under this video in the comment section. So here you can see my statement of philosophy that I created. So as you can see, it is it's got my name, it's got my title, and it's statement of philosophy here. So you can see that I organized it in a way that makes it easier to follow my values, childhood, the image of the child, learning environments, and other things. So yeah, learning environments and play, sustainability. So these are only few things that I included. Of course, I can write much more than that, but it's also a document that shouldn't be too long, right? So we are not writing a PhD. We are writing a statement that is quite brief. So here is my example of statement of philosophy, my values. Here I write about values and beliefs. So, for example, I promise to act with integrity, enthusiasm, honesty, openness, and consistency in my practice as an educator and early childhood teacher. I aim to be guided by the Early Childhood Code of Ethics, ECA Code of Ethics, and principles of the EYLF in my practice. I am committed to building relationships with children, families, other educators, and community based on trust, respect, and inclusion. So this is a good idea to start with values. Think about what you value in life, right? Maybe it's also respect. Maybe you value honesty as well. So think about what values resonate with you. You might think, where do I find values if I don't remember the values from top of my head? In the Code of Ethics. Yes, so that's where you can find all the values related to early childhood education and care. Next one, childhood. What are my beliefs about childhood? Personally, I believe that childhood is a magical and precious. Yeah, we'll change that. A precious time in child's life. It's a time of discovery and learning, development and exploration. First 5 years of life lay the foundation for the future. That's why I recognize my role as a teacher profoundly important for nurturing children and helping them to thrive. So that's, again, you can see quite completed paragraph that describes my views and beliefs about childhood and highlight how important it is for children. Yeah, I think it's magical time indeed, and it's very important for learning of children for the future. Yeah, lays the foundation. Next one, the image of the child. My perception of the child is on one hand vulnerable and innocent, and on the other hand confident and capable. I believe children have rights to be, to learn, to play, to be protected and feel safe. My role as an educator is to create an environment where all children belong and feel valued for who they are and where they come from. I view myself as an advocate for children and believe in my responsibility to advocate for children on their behalf to ensure inclusion and respect of them as humans and citizens. Next one would be about learning. In my teaching practice, I draw on many theoretical perspectives such as Piaget, Vygotsky, Rogov, Maslow, and Malaguzzi, who value children as active participants in their learning and co-constructors of knowledge. I believe children start learning from birth. I think that's important belief, isn't it? They all develop, learn, and grow in their unique way at their own pace. I'm inspired by ideas of Vygotsky, who believed that children learn in the context of relationships and their culture, and they learn from more knowledgeable others, including their peers, educators, community members, and of course family. Next one is about learning environments. I think it's important to include your philosophy statement about learning environments because children deserve the best learning environments. For me, environment is a third teacher, if you believe in Reggio Emilia ideas. So I want to provide the best materials and resources, including loose parts, open-ended, recycled, and natural play resources. More importantly, rich, safe, yet stimulating. My teaching vision is based on strong focus on nature and sustainability. I promise to support children's connection to nature and as nature develop sense of wonder and respect for country and the land we walk on. In light of this commitment, I aim to build partnerships with indigenous communities as traditional custodians of land to learn unique ways of looking after country. So you can imagine that my learning environments will be inspired by a lot of Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander ways of learning. I will aim to build these partnerships to make environments inclusive, cultural diverse, and also natural and sustainable with true commitment to country. So next one is play. I think it's an important part of your philosophy, because you are an educator. You need to describe not just your views on learning, but you also need to describe your views on play, because play is an important part of early childhood education profession. So the essence of childhood is play. And as an educator, I'm dedicated to support all kinds of play: solitary play, social play, imaginative play, active play, exploratory, playing with blocks. I value early literacy, numeracy, and STEM, along with social emotional learning, development of self-regulation. To cater for that, I'm committed to create play environments to support holistic development and variety of play. Sustainability is the next one. I will nurture the development of identity, sense of community, well-being, love of learning, and effective communication through a range of teaching strategies and practices, such as learning through play, intentional teaching, partnership with families and communities. You might ask, where did I get a lot of words from? And my advice is, as always, Early Years Learning Framework. Early Years Learning Framework and the guide to Years Learning Framework for educators. So as guide to a national quality framework, provide us with a lot of professional language, and it does guide us in terms of what's expected. You also can use Code of Ethics if you are not familiar with it, and highlight some words there and then think about, does it resonate with you? If it does, copy it and incorporate it into your philosophy. I hope you enjoyed this video cast. Subscribe for more videos like this one. Professional videos supporting early childhood educators. Ask any questions that you have, and post what kind of videos would you like to see on my channel. Thank you so much for watching. Bye.